All right, thank you for staying with us. We're getting into the tail end of this conversation. We have a lot of your feedback coming through. Use the hashtag Monday Report at Trevor Mbija at Citizen TV Kenya. And the conversation is more than half of the students who don't make the university cutoff point. Where do they go? What options do they have? And let's hear from you. Yeah, start with your name and then keep your comments brief because of time.
Hello, my name is Dolin, and I have a different approach to what I think the problem is and a suggestion.
All right. Let me check your microphone just quickly before we start. Yes, go ahead.
Hello,
yes.
My name is Dolin, and I have a different approach to what I think the problem could be and a different suggestion to the solution. I think that the core problem of this is fear, because our parents usually advise us to go to school, study hard, get good grades, graduate, get a great job, especially likely at a big company with good benefits, work hard for several years, probably until you're 65, so that you may have saved for your retirement.
And specific.
Yes, and then after that you can teach your children to do the same, and this works. And I think that that was good advice, especially in other parts of the world in the industrial age, and maybe during earlier times for our parents, but it is not advice which applies to us today as students and as young people. So the core of the problem, I think, is financial literacy, because our parents advise us these things in good faith and because they love us, but it's because they fear that if you don't end up becoming a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer, you're not going to get a good income, and maybe you'll be left struggling in the job market, wondering what we'll do. And I also think that necessarily getting to university and graduating does not exactly mean that you're also going to get a job, because times have changed, and today with there's always a crisis about jobs. Yeah.
Keep it brief, please.
Yes, so I think what should be done, we should be, financial literacy should be introduced to our schools, so that we can learn about taxes, because you leave school, you don't know about taxes, you're suddenly watching the business news, you cannot understand what stocks, mutual funds are, shares, what are, and you've never been taught these things, you don't know about investment. So you do everything out of fear. Even when you're studying for physics, you're not studying because you love the science, because you want to get a good grade in school.
Great.
So please introduce financial literacy.
Yes, pass the microphone over to her back there. Yes, comment or question briefly.
I think what I would want to add is, from what I hear she's saying is, basically we need to show them where the money is. When you think about where we are right now, is that we're in the fourth industrial revolution. Most of the jobs essentially are going to be technology driven. And that means essentially it's jobs that are to do with AI, for example. Those are some of the areas where experience doesn't count for much, because nobody has these skills. They're essentially happening now. And for most of these courses, like Jack had shared, are essentially things that you can be able to learn in a 3-month type of course online. Chances are it's free. And the opportunities are there. I think some of the statistics that are being said is that there's going to be about 133 million jobs created, AI related, in the next 10 years. So I think if we are able to show what the opportunity is, the parents and the students can be able to see, I can be able to get in this type of an opportunity, and I'll be able, yes, to take care of my kids and feed myself as well. I think we need to educate people in terms of where the opportunities are. On the bit around, how do we support people from a funding perspective? I think from a Microsoft perspective, we have an AI for Earth grant. So if you have an opportunity which you're thinking about building a solution that leverages capabilities such as AI, you can essentially be able to apply and get the funding to put together your business. And this goes to working with institutions such as Daktaris to ensure that you're able to get a solution and a business running out there. So I think the opportunities are there. So the opportunities are really there.
All right, before I come to you, that's a very interesting aspect, Dr. Mashari, and I just want to hear that from you, because it's talking about technology. So how are creative skills creating opportunities for work in the future?
Absolutely. I think we're hearing from the audience that something that's really resonating around the future of work. And this idea that in the past there used to be this one linear path. it was about getting employed with, after earning your degree. And now what we're seeing is that work is moving towards gigs. There's this idea that somebody is looking for very high level skills that you have. And what you do is that you provide those skills. Usually they're digital, usually they're technological. And all of us are learning. And the great thing, why this is a great opportunity for Africa, is exactly what my colleague here has said, is that the world is learning at the same time. So we have an incredible opportunity, rather than lagging behind, to really get on board with AI, with tech, with animation, game development. Everything is being gamified now. You have your financial institution trying to teach you financial literacy, as you're saying, through gamification. So all these skills are absolutely critical, but the way that we need to approach them now is through a change in mindset. The other question you had asked was around policy, and we really appreciate the new recognition that's coming out from government now around TVET and the importance of this, and how this is a key to unlock the padlock so that we can start getting our youth to work. But what we really need to ask, as you had said about policies, what is it that we can do? I think the first thing is what we heard here, to really encourage parents and teachers to have a different mindset around arts and creativity. And to start, when we were coming up, there was this idea that science was on one side and arts was on the other, and somehow genetically you were either scientist or artist. And what we're learning now, it's more about, rather than STEM, it's STEAM. So really getting your teachers to encourage everybody to move forward. If they have a creative passion, get them skilled in that. The other area is around finance. I think indeed this idea that TVET is coming into the fore through government, but we're finding that there's a real emphasis on government institutions when the private sector is providing great solutions that are very market driven. And so we're really looking at seeing things like HELP become opened up, the student financing schemes being opened up to private institutions as well, so that we're able to finance all the different youth who come our way. When you offer a practical education, you're going to find that it has to be a little bit more expensive, because you're giving people a camera to hold, you're trying to have a 1-to-1 computer ratio like we do at ADMI. The idea being that that student graduates having learned how to do the thing. So when you do that, it's expensive, and financing would help. And the last thing I would say around policy is really this idea of the flexibility that you're talking about. With us, we're convinced that the idea is not necessarily that you come from high school, then you go to college. It's exactly what the PS is saying. Sometimes you'll go out, you go into the workforce, maybe in media, and then realize, oh, my skills are getting out to date because of the fast changes we're talking about. And you come back for an upskilling program where you upgrade your skills. So a short program, as you say, very targeted, that moves whatever your media education was to something else. Maybe you combine your journalism degree with sports, or you combine your animation degree with something else, so that then you get the targeted skills for a position or a direction that you're going in. So this flexibility is very important. We're feeling like credit transfer with universities automatically, maybe through the KNQA and competency-based system, would really be helpful for us, so that people are then able to move back and forth in a flexible way and get the skills that they need to carve the career that they're trying to create.
It's a good thing we have the PS here. He'll respond in real time. Are those options you're looking at?
Yes, indeed. We, as she said, we work together in policy formulation, but also the sector skills advisory committees. Now, the important thing is that the private sector and the public sector are on equal footing with respect to TVET development. And we cherish and respect and appreciate their contributions too, as far as skills development and the provision of skills are concerned. And to that end, the Higher Education Loans Board loan scheme is open to private institutions that are accredited by TVET. And we have assisted various projects, not only linked to other potential sources of funds with respect to development funds, but also the possibility of scholarship programs that are now up and coming, which include Wings to Fly and various other initiatives that are now going to be funding TVET institutions, including MasterCard and so on. And these funds will be supporting private institutions as much as they support public institutions. On that issue of policy with respect to ensuring that we're able to create this modular system, this is in place through the competency-based education training. And ladies and gentlemen, increasingly you'll see that working and training are integrated in our lives, henceforth, and we need to consistently keep on training on modules and competencies. You won't necessarily need to sit on a 4 or 5 year degree course in artificial intelligence to program a particular area. You may choose to pick this skill up in 3 or 4 months and then combine it with another skill. And this combination is what industry requires. You know, they require that flexibility and dynamism. So increasingly you'll see that the skilling process is continuous as you work. The issue of awareness is absolutely critical. We need to make every effort to help appreciate this new world that we live in and the opportunities that exist and the excitement around it. And I think that this is a collective effort. All of us have to be involved. It requires all stakeholders to be involved, but the platform exists. We have introduced yet another policy on recognition of prior learning. 60 to 70% of the working population, in certain cases may be informal, but in certain cases does not have certification. Through these assessment centers, the experience that has developed your skills can be assessed, and you can be certified to recognize those skills, but most importantly, to provide access to opportunity where opportunity demands a certification. But it also enables you to further upgrade. And so you may have a skill, you know, like repairing a car, and it's not certified, but you've just been brought up with it. And you can turn up to one of these assessment centers and have that skill assessed. And if there are any gaps, simply cover those gaps up and ensure that you're able to be certified in a professional manner.
All right. Gary, we're talking about the creative industry and the creative skills. Do you have actual jobs for people with creative skills?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting point that you raised, Trevor. Look, in the creative side of skills, the industry is not Kenya. Actually, it's beyond Kenya. There's so many sites out there like Behance and Upwork where you can go and post your creative out there, and people from Denmark, from China can see what you've done and give you a gig and then pay you online. 48% of the remittances coming through PayPal are from young people who are doing gigs for people out there. So when you build your skills, you're not necessarily building your skills for the Kenyan market. And you have to have a global outlook to it. That what I'm learning, is it just for Kenyan market? No, it's not to come and sell to corporate A or corporate B in Kenya. It is to think about the whole world. How can I use my creative skills to make people laugh online? How can I use my creative skills to do arts? And then they will pay you online.
Interesting. Yeah, you had a question over there?
No, it's actually a comment and a quick one. So at some point we are so much blaming the parents in the school, but I also feel that we as the student, or we as the people who are brought up, we have an issue also. Something we call identity crisis. So you know from the word go, why do we have, when I am in nursery, I am able to draw, but when I grow up, I am not able to draw. Because when I grew up and when I was joining after high school, our parents told us, you become a doctor because I'm a doctor, I will connect you to a job. And then you finish up with your certificate, there is no job they can connect you to. So the point is, understand yourself and know who you're called to be. Because inside you there is a talent, and inside you there is what you're called to be. When you realize what you're called to be, then you're able to venture into it and successfully become who you're called to be. Because identity crisis, you will end up, because of titles, I want to be Engineer Sarah, I want to be Doctor Who, whoever and whoever, but because that is what the world have pictured us into, then we are not able to enter into creative industry and all that. So please, let's understand ourselves, because if we actually walk in the line of what I really want to do, then Mondays will always be amazing, and Fridays, you will never want to get to Friday. But today, because you're on the other end, Friday is a party, Monday is a bad day. That's the problem.
Interesting. We have the microphone over here. Any other comments or questions we have? Final round. Yes, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Malecha. My comment is different from everyone's. I feel like my experience has been so different. I'd like to say that as a society, we've actually moved so much from where we were. Because I want to say it works, because I am a product of every good piece of advice everyone has said. My parents raised me to know my talents when I was young, and
after knowing my talents using things like Word, I've been using Microsoft Word since I was like 7, and using products of IT have actually helped me find where I am now. I'm actually doing a diploma right now, and I found the institution where I was doing my diploma as a result of the technology. Yeah. And as I do my diploma now, it was a choice for me, a creative choice that I made, not because of my grades, but because it's what I love to do. Okay. So I'd like to encourage everyone watching and everyone who's concerned that everything that the people are saying here actually works. And I'm not trying to brag, but I'm saying I'm a product of it working. So don't give up. The fight is a good one.
All right, brilliant. Let me get final comments here. Yes, very briefly.
Yes, I'm Ndege Moses, and my comment is that the government should stop demonizing and demoralizing these the vocational institutions. Yeah. For example, my friend gave a case of the jobs, but now let me give a case of, for example, internships. Yeah. You'll find that when they open the portal for applications for internship, they consider mostly bachelors, those who have done bachelors. Yeah. Why don't they have like 50-50, where we have equal chance? Okay, it won't be 50-50 because equal chance for bachelors, diploma, and even these students from these other institutions. Yeah? Yeah. Because by that it will motivate even those who have not gotten those grades. Yeah. Because if you cut them off, then it will be like, you can't work with us, you're not part of us. Yeah. And then also you find that it is for the idea that the government or the CUSPs, the placing body that places students, should not just, even an A student can be placed in these institutions. Okay. Of course, on a voluntary note, if they are willing. Yeah. And by that, they will also motivate others, because you'll find that there's someone who will get an A, go to a university, start doing actuarial science, drop it at year 3 or year 2. Okay. So I think that the government should place also A student, B students in these institutions. Okay. This will motivate others further. Also Thank you.
Great. Ngare, I'll start with you for closing remarks. If a parent is listening today, what would you like them to hear from this conversation?
I think it's to allow your children to follow their passions, and that, you know, the exams that they do are just but a door to the next stage. And where that door leads to, you know, you should be open-minded about it. And there are opportunities now across various industry and government for students to actually perfect the skills that they're willing to learn. And on the industry side, you know, we are there waiting for people who are very skilled and really good at what they're doing, and not just on a local level, but on a global basis, so that we can hire the best of you. So if you're a creative and you believe you're the best artist ever, you know, go post your work on Upwork and on Behance and on YouTube and let people see what you can do. You'll get thousands of views and people will pay you for it. So there's a lot of opportunity now that you can use digitization and technology. And on our end, you know, we as Microsoft are willing to support you in whatever endeavors you do through our products and through our platforms.
Yeah. Kevit?
I think that parents shouldn't worry too much. I think that there's plenty of pathways now, and very exciting ones, and to focus on a young person's creativity, their innate characteristics of curiosity, their energy. Those are the traits that are most special. Those are a resource to the country, and indeed, you know, we need to nurture them. And we have different pathways, and the world of work is fairly different from a linear model.
All right. Dr. Macharia will give you the final word.
It's absolutely that passion is important. It's important for you to see your children thrive and be happy, and also not to be so nervous. You can have, I have a nephew who loves football, but he's also very good in school and wants to do the business path. You can combine that into sports broadcasting or something else. Or you could have medicine and combine that with animation to do medical imagery. So this idea idea of flexibility and allowing us to find our passion and making sure that your children are making their path for themselves is very important. But most importantly for the young people and for the parents is really to understand that in addition to technical skills and creative skills, soft skills are important. And we combine the whole lot. There's a lot of agencies and platforms where you can come in and are willing to support you as you turn that passion into something that's a credible career and a profession.
All right.
It's really encouraging.
Thank you so much for those remarks. TVET Desai, outgoing PS in the State Department of Vocational and Technical Training at the Ministry of Education. We have Jack Ngare, MD, Microsoft Development Center, Kenya, and Dr. Leila Masharia, CEO, Digital Media Institute. Thank you so much for making time, and thank you all for the contributions we've had. We've been given extra time because this is an important conversation, but that's where we have to leave it for now. Thank you so much for all the feedback under the Monday Report as the hashtag at Trevor Mbija at Citizen TV Kenya. This conversation cannot end now. We'll sustain it until there's a change in mindset. My name is Trevor Mbija. Always a pleasure having you with us. Good night for now.